Thanks everyone for joining us today. I'm excited to host this panel on early stage sales. For a quick round of introductions, my name is Brian. I am the startups community manager over at Vanta, YC Winter 18. And why don't we go to David?
Yeah, I'm David. I'm the founder and CEO of Fondo. We did YC back in winter 18.
Yeah, I'm Ajith. I'm co-founder and CEO at Cactus. We are going through YC as we speak.
I'm his co-founder. I'm the co-founder and CTO of Cactus. As I said, we're going through YC, the current YC X25 batch. Yeah.
Great. Well, just for a quick introduction as to what each of our companies do. So Vanta is automated security and compliance for growing companies, things like SOC 2, ISO 27001, HIPAA, and much more. David, what does Fondo do?
Fondo is the all-in-one accounting platform for startups. So we put bookkeeping, taxes, and tax credits on autopilot for busy founders. We work with over 1,000 startups.
Like Cactus, we use Fondo, by the way. Yeah, Cactus is an AI copilot for solopreneurs. We help solopreneurs like private chefs, caterers to manage and automate their entire admin work and be more successful.
Great. Excited to have this conversation. To kick things off, how did you guys think about your first customers, whether that's within the YC network, outside of it? Like, how do you think about go-to-market at the beginning?
Yeah, so Fondo was a pivot. And so we had been, um, you know, working on a different idea for 2 years, and then that stopped working. And so we had to pivot. And so when we came up with the idea for Fondo, thinking about how do we get our first customer was really top priority, when thinking about the idea and thinking about the problem we wanted to solve. And so one of the first things we did was just look at Twitter to see if we could find any signal of like people who were facing the problem we were trying to solve, which was bookkeeping for startups. And so we were looking for those signals on Twitter and found, somebody who was tweeting about this bookkeeping problem they were having, asking for recommendations. And we ended up reaching out to him. He was Sam Parr, the founder of The Hustle, and became our first customer. So we were trying to find a place, okay, where can we find people who have this problem? And it was Twitter.
Wow. Yeah, Twitter seems to be a good place for people to talk about their problems. So good place to start.
Yes.
How about for you guys at Cactus?
Why don't you take this one with
I
the...
can
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, so both of us are batchmates from college. We worked together in the previous startup very closely. He was a founding engineer. I was a co-founder. And we both became dads. And that's when we started working with personal chefs who would come to our house and manage the meal prep for the week. And we started building tools. Avinash
Yeah.
had this. I think you should talk about how it happened.
Yeah. So we really were struggling, and we hired a personal chef. We thought it'd be really expensive, but then once we hired, we realized that it's not really expensive. And I talked to Ajith about this, and he was like, "Oh, my wife is a chef as well, and my mother-in-law is also a chef, and they are helping us, basically support my family as well." So that's how we realized that there's a big need in this space, and we started going a little bit deeper into this.
Yeah.
And we figured that there is a space for allowing chefs to get customers and for meal prep and everything. That's how we started, basically. Yeah.
They became our first customers,
Yeah.
right? So we started building tools for them, helping them to run their business, automate their tasks. So yeah.
And on that note, like YC really does preach like you're solving a problem that you've faced before. Dave, I know you have an accounting background, so it seems appropriate, but you want to talk more about that?
Yeah, definitely. I think that is probably one of the best ingredients for the startup idea is like knowing the pain point yourself firsthand, so that you know how to build the first version of the solution. You can really relate to the pain that your prospects have. So I used to be an accountant before I became a founder, and then did accounting for my previous startups. And so I really felt connected and I cared about this problem a lot. And so it's helped in all the, the roller coaster of sales, getting rejected, finding a channel that works, trying a channel that doesn't work at all and banging your head against the wall. Like really caring and understanding your customer helps break through all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I think it's, once you see the glimpse of what the future can be, and I think we basically realizes that this is the world, this is how the world is going to look like in another 3 to 5 years, where AI is going to help these solopreneurs and small businesses run their business on their own. And it's possible, right? It wasn't possible a couple of years back to think about that. But once we started seeing the glimpse and Avinash like proved it, like you built software which actually solved their
Yeah,
problems.
absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah.
So just a question about maybe selling to companies like YC or just startups in particular. David, how helpful was like the Bookface community? How helpful was, I mean, I don't know, like Cactus is a customer of Fondo now, but like how helpful was that?
It was incredibly helpful. So we first started and we looked at Twitter, and that worked for one customer. Then we thought we knew what the ICP looked like and just started going through friends and saying like, okay, I need to talk to 20 friends and you know, get more customers just through my immediate friend network. And I was a little bit hesitant to post to Bookface because it was kind of intimidating. It's like this community of, 10,000 founders, and I didn't want to like look like an idiot. And so I was like, let me get some more traction before we, post there. And I went through like all my friends and nobody was signing up for Fondo. And I was like, I realized I was going after maybe the wrong audience because it was later stage companies that already had a solution in place. And so then, I was talking to other YC founders, and they were having this problem with filing taxes. And so that's when I posted on Bookface. I was like, hey, does anyone need help with this tax deadline? We'll do it for you for free. And that ended up spreading a lot. And we got like 100 people to sign up for that. So Bookface was, after we had that one customer and couldn't get any more for months, then we finally posted on Bookface and ended up with a bunch of leads.
And on that note, do you have any advice when it comes to selling to startups? I know, like, I know Christina's story, for example, and what she says about selling to early stage companies, but do you have any advice for founders selling?
Yeah, I think it's about, getting founders' attention and solving a problem for them. And so as a founder, if you're selling to other founders, like you can empathize with other founders, you sort of know what they're going through and you know what problems they're facing. And so finding ways to get their attention and solving a problem for them, whether it's your product or not. So like the tax filing thing we did at the time, Fondo didn't do tax filings. So it was kind of like, we knew all the founders were having this problem. Let's try to solve it before we even had a product for it. And then just like sort of win that opportunity to sell them, on the bookkeeping stuff. And so I think that's the biggest thing I learned is if you're helpful and you just focus on helping your ICP, it will open up opportunities to sell to that audience.
Great. And what about when it comes to SMBs?
I just want to add on a little bit on to what David said. I still remember very vividly before Cactus, we pivoted into the name Cactus, we were Craved, and that's the company that we onboarded onto Fondo. And I still vividly remember telling Ajith, hey, David is posting, he's so open on social media, he's somebody I want to be at some point. And I looked at all of your posts and those really resonated with me. And then I saw your posts about, hey, try Fondo, and we'll give you, we'll help you with free tax filing. And then I was like, oh yeah, this makes sense. And that's when I started, we basically onboarded Craved onto or Cactus onto Fondo, which, I think social media helps a lot. I was not on Bookface before this, so I'm not sure about the Bookface side.
Oh
of
yeah,
things.
yeah. I remember actually seeing Fondo on Bookface quite a bit. And of course, I mean, we've known each other for some time, and but I think the top of mind came when I think you spoke at OTF as well.
Yes.
That was like
Oh yes,
I think
I remember that now. Yeah.
that was like a great point. I think I think Bookface is an extremely powerful community, especially because everybody knows that they're founders, and we have got. I mean, we are just launching on Bookface today. Today,
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. But
Everybody upvote.
yes, please,
Yes.
that'll be awesome. We have received a lot of help from our batchmates already, right? People have made introductions. People have given us a lot of interesting insights. Opened up some interesting verticals for us, which we would not have thought about. It's extremely helpful.
Yeah.
I wanted to like maybe repeat that question, but for YouTube, selling to SMB, selling like maybe someone who's thinking about starting a vertical SaaS company, for example, like any things they should consider when selling to these ICPs?
There's a lot, right? I think if you think about the kind of customers that we are going behind, they are also small businesses, entrepreneurs who are trying to have a very successful business, but at the same time, they know that they are not a scale of like a large company, right? So they cannot afford like a full-time assistant. So they don't have the time. They want to make more money with lesser number of hours spent on their side. So that's what they're looking for, right? So
And the
we
other
yeah,
thing that we realize is that it's this spot is a sweet spot between consumer and like a little medium-sized business.
Yeah.
But the strategy for enterprise will not work. Strategy for medium might not work, but even I think consumer is what
Yeah.
people resonate most with, and that channel I think
Yeah,
helps a lot.
I'm actually curious to ask this to David. When you get the startups at a very early stage, do you think of them as selling to the founder or to selling to the company? Because I think there's a difference there, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think for us, we really focus on helping the founder.
Yeah.
So the target customer is the startup,
Yes.
but the way we, acquire that customer is through the founder.
Yeah.
And so a lot of what we do is trying to help the founder. What is the founder? How can we help the founder?
It's
That's
very
exactly
similar.
what- yeah, that's exactly
It's
what-
exactly what we are trying to do, right? Because helping the founder is
Yeah.
exactly. Sorry, I'm just hijacking the conversation a
No,
little
no
bit.
worries.
Sorry about
I mean, for what it's worth, we think at Vanta, we think about it very similarly too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how can we give the founders as much time back in the day,
Yeah.
saving as much money as possible?
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
compliance sucks and it's not sexy, so
Yeah.
we want to
Yeah.
do that for them for sure.
Yeah. And how did you think about it in the early days at Vanta, getting the early customers?
Yeah, so I'm going to echo something I've heard from Christina recently where like, I mean, definitely, so just to play it back a little bit, Christina encountered the problem of compliance while she was a product manager at Dropbox Paper. Like as they were trying to bring it to market, they realized they needed SOC 2 compliance. Customers are asking about it. They couldn't get it. Getting the process of getting it kind of sucked too. So that's when Christina started like thinking about like, okay, how can I sort of automate this? Whether that we create spreadsheets for customers to use and actually track their SOC 2 compliance that way, or we create a product that can automate all that for them. So in the early days of Vanta, like I would say like our bread and butter was definitely startups, like YC companies, for example. One of our earliest customers like ever is actually in this very building, one in Treasury. They've been a customer of ours, I believe, since 2019, a year after we went through YC. Don't quote me on that. That sounds about right. So yeah, the YC community was really, really big for Vanta back then too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's Bookface is definitely one of the most valuable parts of YC.
It is.
Yeah.
Especially if you're selling to startups, you have like a captive audience there,
Yeah.
and it's if you focus on being helpful and adding value, you can get a lot. You can go a very long way on Bookface for your company.
Yeah.
Totally. Okay, just to switch gears a bit, just thinking back to maybe the early sales days, what did a typical week look like? Or actually, let me just make that a two-part question. The first part is thoughts on founder-led sales. The second part is what did a typical week look like if founder-led sales was your primary methodology?
Yeah, I think the way I think about the sales process is like, okay, how do I get the attention, and then how do I build trust and be helpful, and then like win the win the pitch, basically like, and so a lot of my time was spent on like what is a useful post I can make on Bookface.
Yeah.
What is a useful post I can put out there so that we can get the attention of our ICP, do something useful and helpful, get them into our funnel somehow, whether it's through a DM or email or they fill out a form, and then like engage with them and try to get them, try to help them solve whatever problem we're pitching to solve. And then, hey, do you need help with your accounting?
Mhm.
And so just trying to come up with, post ideas, and so that's one thing. And then also doing outbound, through LinkedIn DMs, or outbound over email.
Yeah.
Finding lists of ICPs and just working that and just trying to get people on a sales demo.
From our side, I think so. We recently had a sales conference inside YC, and Tyler, who is the latest visiting partner, he actually told this very interesting thing about founder-led sales. Right. So when in the early days, he was like, I knew that I would be the best salesperson for the company, but what he did not realize that he will be forever the best salesperson for the company,
Yeah.
like forever, right? I actually strongly believe that. I think founders are the best salespeople
Absolutely.
for the company. And the way that we think about sales, both Avinash and I, is more of a discovery process where we are trying to find the people who actually would be benefited by using Cactus.
Yep.
It's about finding those people. That's what the sales process is. Of course, once you find them, then it's about delivering the right message, making sure the pricing is right, and of course, the very biggest thing is delivering value, right? In a few days. So that's the way that we think about sales. The way that we again started off is just like anybody would be pushed into like a sea of like water. We just like thrashed around. We looked at like 8 channels. We looked at all the different channels and trying to figure out what works. I mean, of course, we are doubling down on a couple of them, which is like warm introductions are awesome, right? That's the best way that we have got. I think some of the best word of mouth has been like great. But I think Avinash, we should talk about product led growth, which is your
So
vision.
the one other thing that we are doubling down is on, again, we are early, but product led growth is going to be huge for us. Uh, as as the businesses that onboard onto Cactus use Cactus more, they get value out of it, and then they start telling other people. That creates network effects, and I think that is very powerful. And even for founder led sales, what if you try to sell Cactus, they will not, they will be like, okay, I don't want it. But if you're trying to understand their problem, what they are going through, and then plug in Cactus saying, hey, we are building something that could help you. I think that resonates with at least the small businesses more, solo entrepreneurs more.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think that to your point too about how founders are the best salespeople for the product that you're building, right? And focusing on empathizing with your customer, knowing that you care about them, I think that translates everywhere, right? And then, word of mouth, like retention is what brings word of mouth. So focusing on making sure that they're getting what they signed up for and they're being successful helps with, growing for sure.
Great. And what about for maybe founders where sales does not come naturally? It certainly didn't come naturally to me, and that was my first 3 jobs out of college. Like, I'm an introvert for sure, but like, any advice for founders who maybe like don't have a sales background or they're solely focused on the technical side? Anything like that?
I can talk about that a little bit. Both of us are technical folks.
Yeah,
so
both
you
of us
should-
are technical. I mean, of course, we are batchmates and we have known each other for quite a while. He went into becoming a founder. He's a born entrepreneur, and I love writing code. I love building products. So sales is not natural to me. The thing that is natural to me is that I really love what I'm building. And I know that we are building an amazing product that our customers will love using. That's it. I think that itself is making me a good sales person, quote unquote. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to learn sales. I think sales is being taught to me through just talking to our customers and just telling them, hey, I'm building this cool thing. I think you might like it.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
I mean, it's a really good point. I mean, that's why, solving a problem you really care about helps so much because you're building something that you wish existed in the world.
Right,
You're excited about it. You're passionate about solving their problem. And it's just like, you can make it about them versus making it about you. Like if you haven't done sales before, or you don't like doing sales, or you think you don't, it's like, if you just focus on understanding the customer's problem and wanting to solve it for them, that's like the best sales process you can do.
I mean, you are an accountant. I mean, technically, you are a technical person as well. You're an accountant before, and you had to get into sales and sell. But I think you just sold your problem.
Yes.
The vision and a problem. That's it. I think founders just sell a vision.
Yeah, and it's about like building an amazing solution for this person that has the problem. And it's like, then it's just, that is just so exciting to you, and you just want everyone to know about it, and you want them. You're building because you want to solve their problem. And when people have a problem and they're looking for a solution, if you're there and you're passionate about solving it for them, you're gonna do sales.
Great. On a related note, like how do you balance building and selling? I know some companies, for example, have technical, non-technical co-founders. I mean, David, you're CEO and founder. So, like, I mean, just how did the three of you think about balancing that?
You should go to. You wanna go
Okay,
first?
sure. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I think as a founder, you have to focus on growth and retention. So, if you don't have retention, you're not going to get the word of mouth
Yeah.
growth that you need to hit the goals that you probably have as a startup.
Yes.
And so, you can't just focus on growth. You have to focus on building a really good product that solves the problem and retains the customer. So, yeah, I think balancing it is they're very tied together because doing sales is understanding the problem even better for that person and like spending time on the demo of like what problem are you trying to solve?
Yep.
Like what are your top 3 priorities with signing up for Fondo right now? Like what are you trying to solve? And then making sure that that problem is solved by your product. Specifically like one at a time for each customer and then like at scale those become features in your product.
Yep.
And you can reliably know every customer is going to get that done. And so yeah, it's definitely a tough balance because you have as a startup you have to grow and you have to have aggressive growth goals, but you also have to make sure that you have strong retention, otherwise you're wasting all your time doing sales. So I would say it's definitely like 50-50 for me at least.
What about Cactus team?
Yeah, I think so. From our side, the way that, again, at least I think of it, and I'm sure Avinash as well, sales has to be slightly ahead of product. And the reason is, unless you sell something and you find out that there is something that people really want, you can't build it, right? So again, this is very important that you build it right away. And this is something that we didn't do in the previous startup, right? We have to build it right away, get the feedback, work with them, get the delivery done. And I think the hardest part about building versus selling is deciding the scope. I think people get this very wrong, right? Like I think most of the founders, and including us, have gone down this rabbit hole of the scope where we try to build something really big, but then the quality suffers, right? So I think the focus has to be on quality and just a very narrow scope. That's the way that we think about it. And
Yeah. So for both of us as founders, Ajith is really good at sales. I'm really good technically. Ajith has an amazing technical background as a computer science engineer, and he has also written code before. So he knows that you, there is a certain limit to selling, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you're selling a vision, but also you're not selling a promise that cannot be delivered.
Yeah.
That I think is very important to have, because if you go down the path of just not knowing how it technically works or what is feasible, then you start selling things that potentially could not be built or it'll take a long time to build. And as Ajit said about the scope, I think that's also kind of very important. What we have done at Cactus is that uh, if we when we're building something, we iterate very fast. And if we think that it's going to take a long time to build, we cut down the scope really narrowed. For example, we just built the voice agent that accepts call for our customers. That's it. We could have done text, we could have done emails, we could have done all this multiple things. We narrowed our scope to just that, and he sold that, right? And now we can confidently go to a potential customer, and we don't have to sell a vision. We can show them the product, saying that, hey, just take your phone, make a call, and you will see it in action. And they are like, oh wow, I did not know it was this advanced. So that's how I see the sales and product. I think they go hand in hand. And as David mentioned just earlier, I think retention is a very important part where, or customer success, right? You want to be able to deliver value even after selling. How do you retain your customers? I think product is, or product is very important to be in that conversation, work hand in hand with the retention team, the customer success team to continue delivering value. So yeah, I mean, it's it's hard, but you got to sell and you got to build. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Iterate.
Next question, and something that's near and dear to my heart, is something I like to say at Vanta is trust is the foundation of every sale. So knowing that the both of you or the three of you have sold and need to demonstrate trust somehow, what are some ways you've done that with early stage companies?
Yeah, I think one of the sort of I guess the easiest way I think to build trust is to listen and like actively listen. And so when you're doing a demo or you're talking to somebody, it's like, yeah, taking the time to ask them to share more about their problem and what they're hoping um, to solve. And I think just listening and repeating what their problem is and what solution they're looking for helps like build a little bit of trust in the process of presenting yourself as the solution. And so I think listening and asking questions helps uh, build trust for sure.
If you are, I echo what David said, absolutely, because if on a call you record and have statistics, if you have spoken for 60% and the customer has spoken for 40%, it's a big misfit. I think you've done something wrong. Listening is, I think, extremely important and the key. Just all the customer wants to know is, okay, I have this big problem. I want to vent out to somebody. Just listen to them and then say, hey, yes, and we have a solution for it. I think that's about it, I would say.
Yeah, I think trust is, of course, 100% agreed. I think the most important thing for trust, in if you ask me, is uh, being able to communicate frequently, right? Just to know, tell them that okay, we are here, right? So what usually happens in a sale, at least what I've seen, is that there's somebody who sells, and then they disappear, and then the customer success comes in, and then the experience is kind of like very jaded. And
Compartmentalized experience.
yeah, it's a very compartmentalized experience, and actually, it's most of the times it feels like a different experience, because when you're in the sales process, they feel like they're really wanted, and like it's like, you feel like okay, you're in love, but when you get when you get married, right, when you are sold, then it's a different experience. That really is not great.
Yeah.
So I think having that consistent experience and communicating the same level of I kind of like enthusiasm, right, for working. I think that is really important, and of course, delivering value right away as quickly as possible, if possible, in the next 48, 24 hours. That's great. It could be as simple as setting them up on the platform. I don't know, right? So yeah.
And once you build that trust level, I believe even if slightly something goes wrong, it's okay because you have they're like, okay, I know you guys will take care of it and fix it.
Right.
It's fine. So I agree.
Yeah, it trust I think is really built on like demonstrating accountability. Like you're saying in the sales process, like I'm selling you this thing and I'm going to make sure it works for you. Like doing what you say you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. At Vanta, we have a value called "do what it says on the tin," and I think like past. What's the saying they like to say? Future behavior is past behavior is predictive of future behavior or something like that. So really having that like reputation, I guess, built out.
Totally.
Okay, shifting gears a bit, we've been talking a lot about when it comes to selling within YC, maybe within our networks. How about outside of that? So completely cold. How do you build that trust with them who maybe people aren't as familiar with who you are?
Yeah.
It's really hard.
It's
really hard. So
because me and Ajith have had kind of a good discussion about what this is for us.
It's really difficult, right?
Yes.
Because sometimes you're reaching out through cold emails. Sometimes, we have walked into small businesses, right, and just just literally walked into them and said, "This is what we do," and I think it takes time. You cannot build trust instantly. And it's a series of actions, right? Maybe you leave them a business card, you talk to them, have a first conversation, then they look at your website, then they maybe talk to somebody else, they see some referrals, testimonials. It takes time to build trust, and I think that's perfectly fine. It's also important to understand that if they truly have a problem, so this is where I really believe in YC's advice of the burning hair on fire problem, right? Like if they truly have that problem, they will take even your half-baked solution and give it a shot.
Yeah.
Right? Because they truly want a solution. So, and trust gets built in that process as long as you you help them. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think, back to the point of retention and social proof is all you have, right? And so I think selling to somebody new who maybe has never heard of you or isn't in your network is about, yeah, s- you know, doing the founder-led sales, getting your 10 logos, putting those 10 logos on your website, getting 10 case studies out of them, and just leading with your social proof, um, in your marketing, in the demo, when you're talking to somebody, like leading, earning that social proof and then leveraging it to build trust outside of your network.
Great. Okay, so now we're going to shift to some lightning round questions. Let's just go in order, starting with David. One sales win that felt huge early on for you.
So we were setting up a CRM at Fondo, and we were adding people to it that had signed up for the free tax filing we offered. And one of those companies was PostHog, and we accidentally sent everybody we added to the CRM an email. And we were really beating ourselves up about that. And James from PostHog responded and was like, actually, I need help with my taxes.
Oh, wow.
And bookkeeping, like I want to sign up.
That's awesome.
And they became one of our big, at the time they were in the batch at YC.
They were
and
my
they're,
batch, yeah.
and now they're one of our biggest customers.
That's awesome.
Um,
What about Cactus?
Yeah, I think a huge win definitely was the first chef saying that they need this, and we worked with them for some time. They were helping us for the meal prep and everything. But when they actually said, "Yeah, I'm ready to actually onboard, I want to work with you," that's a huge win, right?
Yep.
Like that gives validation that it works. So yeah.
One more thing that I want to add to this is I still remember, we had, we have a chef on our platform who basically started from zero.
Yeah.
And we helped her get to a place where we had a chef meetup, just to
Yeah.
talk to all the chefs. You got to talk to customers, right? And there she later, just with the two of us, she literally broke down and said, "You guys have helped me pay my college tuition."
Mhm.
And that felt like a huge. I was like, I told Ajith,
Yeah.
I was literally like, I was in tears. I was like,
We both took a moment.
yeah. And then we're like, this means something. This is
Yeah.
something big. We are building an impact, right?
Yeah.
So that felt really good for us.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
The boldest cold DM you've ever sent. Anything crazy? Any memes? Any love letters like that?
Let's see. I think, I think the first one was that, Sam Parr, on Twitter, he has hundreds of thousands of followers. He tweeted about, looking for bookkeeping help. And so, I sent the DM. I sent, one of our investors who was connected to him. I said, hey, can you put in a good word for us? So kind of went through every, sent the message, tried to sort of back channel, get good word in. And yeah, he actually responded. And then, that whole experience is what helped us create our first, the first version of our website, our first sales pitch. We went in and pitched his president, Adam, and, met his team. And just that whole process from cold DM to customer is what informed us what our sales process should be.
Yeah.
And it started with a cold DM. And that is I think as a founder doing founder-led sales, you have to take those risks. You have
Yep.
to send those
Yep.
DMs. You have to send that email,
Yep.
even if you think it's a 1% chance, because oftentimes it works.
Before Ajit says anything, I want to say that he is really good at cold outreaches, cold DMs. I'm sure he has a great story about it. I personally, I have not done much of cold outreaches, but yeah, you should.
Yeah, I mean, I've done a few. I think I'm not so customers. We've got few from, of course, from cold DMs, but I think the best thing that happened from a cold DM was just getting marketplace capital on board, and we specifically wanted a VC who understood marketplaces back when we were a marketplace. So yeah, I just cold DM'd.
That was a cold DM?
That was a cold DM.
Wow.
That was a cold DM. Yeah, I just cold DM'd again. Not specifically for getting investment, but we wanted to be part of the community. We wanted to learn more about how to build a great marketplace. That started a conversation, and yeah, they ended up investing in us. Yeah.
Great. YC perk or platform you've used the most in early sales? Any cool enablement
I think
tools?
Brex for sure.
Shout out
YC.
Brex.
Yeah.
Shout out to Brex. Yeah,
Shout out to
of course.
Brex. Absolutely. Big fans of Brex.
Yeah.
Super responsive. I mean, we were previously using it in our previous startup,
Yeah.
like in a startup as well. I think the other YC perk, which I think was really helpful for us, is Posthog.
Yeah.
We really love Posthog. They are from my batch as well.
No, I can't think of. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure we'll
There's
use
many. There's many.
There's
There's a
many,
lot.
but-
So many good deals.
There's a
on
lot of
Bookface.
great deals.
We use Vanta. We
Yeah.
use the Vanta Bookface deal.
Yeah.
We use the Brex Bookface deal.
Yeah.
Like a lot of our core finance stack is
Yeah.
from Bookface.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Last question. One sales tactic or tool you wish you had from day one? Maybe it didn't exist back then.
I wish we implemented a CRM much sooner. We were doing spreadsheets all the way through like over 5 million in ARR. We were still on
Wow.
spreadsheets.
Wow.
That's
That's impressive,
That's
actually.
impressive.
Yeah, we really worked Google Sheets.
Really got the maximum out of it.
Yeah, but because of that, like I think what happens when you don't have a CRM is a ton of missed opportunities to engage with people who have given you an email at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to Fern, I believe their winter 2023. Their CEO, their CRM was Post-its on like a whiteboard for, I think, I forgot exactly how long, but they were doing that for quite some time.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned about CRMs. I mean, we have in our apartment office that we have a TV which has the demo day goal, and it has the countdown to demo day, and we basically wipe coded using Lovable. We wipe coded a CRM because we don't want to use any CRM. We're going to do this. We wipe coded it, and now we are thinking about actually using a CRM because this is fine.
We are
it's
right
fun.
there. We are right there.
We are where
We
you
haven't
are.
reached 5 million ARR though.
Yeah, exactly. But
It is so helpful.
that's a good validation.
It's
for
a great
us, by the way.
validation. Yeah, for sure.
It's
Yeah.
so helpful.
Yeah, Notion templates,
Yeah.
anything like that. Yep.
Yeah.
I just want to add one tactic which I feel I could have learned earlier. So I was really bad at adding a sense of urgency in the sales process. So because I felt somehow inherently that we should not push them, but I'm completely on the other side right now, because if you start the process from a good intent and you know that they actually need it, it's not bad to push, right? So what I learned is that there should be some sort of urgency. Okay, we are working with 50 select customers. If you sign up by this weekend or like this thing, you get like a $100 trial for the first month instead of the full price, and it really helps them to make the decision quicker. It's just that they are so busy. It's not that they don't want to onboard or anything. So I feel that I should have learned this earlier. I think this is really helpful.
Totally. I think, figuring out a way to create urgency is really important. Because if you don't, there's no way to move the deal forward, and time kills all deals, right?
Absolutely.
And you have to create
Absolutely does.
You have to create some urgency. And I think that's the same for fundraising, for sales, like everything. Having urgency is a key ingredient to winning.
Yep. Any like specific tactics? I know some people do like perks or end of quarter discounts or anything.
Yeah, for us, we do discounts that end on certain dates. Sometimes we do giveaways. If you sign up by a certain date, those have helped. Definitely encourage people to make a decision.
Yeah, same for us. Yeah.
And actually, one last question, which was, you mentioned like fundraising too, and the sense of urgency there. Like I know one thing YC has talked about a lot is when you're raising, get all of your investor meetings in on the same week just to not only like artificially create that sense of urgency, but like in real life, it actually is really urgent. So, any other advice for maybe founders who are thinking of raising too?
I mean, VC investors will wait as long as possible because the longer investors wait, the more information they get to inform their decision. And they want infinite information if they can. And so, you need to create a time box for your fundraising and start it and end it at the same time, for everybody, just to get, and Demo Day does a really great job of creating that urgency because all the investors know that every company has that time box and there's 10,000 other investors that are talking to them,
Right.
and so it creates that scarcity and urgency. And when you raise money after YC, you have to kind of create that for yourself, and the way you do that is by having a strict timeline that everybody is like enrolled in.
Totally. Yeah. Basically, like start in San Jose, make your way up to Sand Hill Road, go to San Francisco, talk to as many investors as you can in that one drive.
Exactly.
Fundraising is very different process with and without YC. I've done both, and I think it's all about momentum, right? If you have momentum, you get the first check, then you get the second check, and then suddenly people are missing out. So it's about building momentum, and of course not just fundraising, but also your actual like product is improving. You meet them the next week and they have signed a few more customers. It's just momentum basically. So
great. Well, that's all I had. Thank you so much
Awesome.
for joining.
Thank
All
you.
right,
awesome.
Thank you
so much for having us.